So hi there on this last and final day of winter here in eastern PA. Tomorrow is officially the first day of spring. Yay. But today it's also kind of chilly and cold, so I'm inside shooting some macro. Today I'm going to be trying some coins, including, I won't say it's a rare coin, but it's an interesting older coin, and there's a bit of a history lesson behind it. And then I also have this amethyst crystal thingy. So I'm going to try shooting that and we'll see what happens. Okay, going over the setup just a little bit. I have my D800 with the 100 millimeter macro lens on a boom. And normally I would be using this boom over here, but I actually have the light hooked to the boom, so I needed another one. And of course then I have the studio light, which is an LED adjustable, and then just a little tabletop light with another LED in it. And between the two of them, I get pretty good lighting. And these are coins literally from all over the world. This, if you can see my finger, that's a Pfennig, that's from Germany before the EU. That's a shilling from Austria. I think this top one is from the Netherlands. I can't remember. Underneath that is another Austrian shilling. Or no, that's, I don't remember where that one's from. This one's from Panama. I think that's South Korea. That's from India. And then one of these is from Australia. And the rest of them are from Britain. And just by way of explaining how I came about all these coins, of course, I used to, before COVID, travel quite a bit. And I actually lived in the UK for 3 years. So that's some of these coins come from when I lived there. And in a minute, I'll get to one that I think is kind of cool. But for now, we'll get on with photographing these. And because looking through the viewfinder would be really, really difficult, I'm using the back screen. Now I'm shooting in full manual. I have it set to 125th of a second, f7.1, and I'm at ISO 400. And that, I've experimented, and that seems to work fairly well. And then I'm also using manual focus. What you can't see, but you will see, is that I'm shooting more towards the center. So now getting to this other coin, or this one coin that I find particularly interesting. And I'll just move those out of the way. This coin is from 1948. And I'm actually going to take a picture of it. And what makes it particularly interesting to me is that it's from the reign of King George VI, who was actually the father of the current monarch, Queen Elizabeth. And King George came to the throne when his brother, Edward VIII, abdicated to marry Miss Wallis. And when King Edward abdicated, he became the Duke of Windsor. So that's just a bit of history, and I just think it's interesting, and was pleased to discover I had this coin, because every other coin I have from the UK is from the reign of Elizabeth, so having one of her father, I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool. So anyway, alright, so that's coins. And again, you can, depending on what you have, you can arrange them however you want. That I'm pretty sure is Australia. It is. It's sometimes hard to tell because, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, or whatever, Australia, Canada, any country still in the British Commonwealth will feature Queen Elizabeth. So sometimes you look at a coin and you think it's British, but it's not. It's like I said, that's from Australia. Somewhere in here is a Canadian nickel, which also has Queen Elizabeth on there. Is it that one? Yep. So that's Canadian. Anyway, all right. So now moving on to this amethyst, this is just one of those crystal groupings that you can get at lots of hobby stores or wherever. They're all over the place. And I just think it's kind of interesting. So again, now the color on this is not particularly good, but you know, I can fix that in post, but so there's one that's face on. Now where I think this one gets interesting is on the edges, where you have the different bands of color. You have the green underneath, and then what looks like just to be plain old crystal. And then you have some color, there's some brown in there, there's of course purple, there's flaws in these crystals that look black. So you know, as gemstone, this is worthless. But as a crystal, it's kind of cool. Yeah, let's go there. And even though I have this at f7.1, depth of field is still going to be really narrow just because of the proximity of the lens to what I'm shooting. Okay, now we'll just transfer them over to Lightroom and see what we got. Okay, so I have the pictures loaded in the Lightroom, including a couple from yesterday. And looking over them, the ones I took today aren't bad. No, that's not what I clicked on. For some reason, this Indian coin is a little out of focus compared to the rest, but then again, this actually has a British pound, which is on the same level, is also out of focus. So that kind of highlights the issue that you have with macro with a very limited depth of field. So these coins on this level, and this one's kind of okay. Whereas you can see the ones that are in focus, and beginning on this level and lower, they're out of focus. But still, it's interesting to do all these. And I think the exposure is okay. Maybe I'll raise it just a tad. Again, I'm happy with the highlights, blacks and whites. A little texture, a little clarity. Clarity will create the illusion of this Indian coin being a little more in focus, but it's really not. And then dehaze. And just bump the saturation just a little bit. And then give it a nice S-curve. And again, the reason I do this is because that's how I was taught to do it by an actual toning expert. And I'd call this one done. And then I do want to look at this one from King George. That to me is just, it's interesting. Maybe crop this one down. And go back here. Lock that in. Keep the perspective. Now, normally in composition, you would, try and see these points. That should be your focal point or your main subject matter. But in this case, I think it's better if he be centered. And again, I think the exposure is good. I wish the coin were in better condition, but it's good. Since that's gray, all right, so let's take a quick look at some of these crystals. This is one I actually took yesterday, and I kind of like it the best. Even though there's this spot here, if you watch where my cursor is going, that's not good. That's a flaw in the crystal. It's not anything that's on it. It's like, because I cleaned this thing just to make sure that it wasn't dirty. This is just flaws in the crystals. But we'll give it a little texture, a little clarity. We're definitely going to bump the saturation on this. And then I'm going to go down into the hue, and I'm going to see if I can push that purple just a little bit. Maybe go more towards blue. Give it a little bit more red. And I like that. And again, I haven't gone overboard with editing, but just enough to bring out these highlights here. Give us some nice bokeh over there, or bokeh, however you want to pronounce it. And we'll call this one done. Or I'll call it done. Maybe this one will grow on me, but for now, I don't know. So that's macro with some coins and some crystal and a little bit of history on the British monarchy. So thanks for watching. I hope this inspires you in some way to try out some form of macro. There's certainly lots of things that you could shoot macro. If you haven't, please subscribe, click that like button, and if you click the bell, you'll get a notification via email when I post a new video. See you in the next one.